Why isn't jazz more popular? I travel around the world. I see how people love it. But that's a small audience. Why does it have a larger audience? Oh, I think there's a couple of factors. That word jazz, that's very limiting. As soon as you put a label on something, people get an idea of what it is. They come down on like or don't like. That word, for many people, either means Kenny G or Wynton Marsalis. Both, I'm sure, fine gentlemen. They love their families. But Kenny G, his music is good for Walmart and dentist offices. Wynton Marsalis, I don't know what to make of Wynton Marsalis, but I think that perhaps in many ways he's been a negative force. He has turned jazz into classical music. He's institutionalized it. He's set up criteria for what's good and what's bad, a criteria that I don't agree with. When young people hear classical music, they think of ancient, they think of old. Young people don't want to be associated with something old. They want something new, something that they're part of. Now in the 60s, we had fusion. Miles and Chick Corea and Herbie Hancock and Wayne Shorter and Joe Zawinul and John McLaughlin and all those cats, they recognized that the music was in the air, had some validity, and they incorporated it into their music. We had something called jazz rock, fusion, and there were a lot of young people listening to that. But that's gone. And the cultural expressions that have followed that, heavy metal, no place for that in jazz. Punk, no. And then hip-hop, rap music. Jazz never embraced that. Instead of trying to hear and utilize musical forms that young people understood, jazz musicians kept at a arm's distance away from it. Consequently, for the past 20 years, young people, most of them have nothing to do with jazz. It's a museum piece, not part of their culture. You go to a jazz event, you see very few young people. The ones you see are the ones who are lucky enough to have heard it, maybe learned how to play it in a music education program. But you don't hear jazz on mainstream broadcast radio, terrestrial radio. You don't see it on TV. It's available on the internet, but you got to look for it. It's not a mass market item. Never really has been. So young people don't get it. That word doesn't speak to them. It's old. There's nothing that they can get into. The truth is, if they sat down and listened to it, if they went to a festival or club, they heard it live, they'd have a different opinion. I know that. I'm certain of that. Yet, that word jazz, Kenny G and Wynton Marsalis leading the charge, and the perception of jazz being like classical music, old, institutionalized, the inability of jazz musicians to incorporate contemporary forms like hip-hop into the music, and then perhaps the biggest impediment to the popularity of jazz, the fact that jazz is not one thing. Unlike many other musical forms, It's not just one sound, one idea, one form. It's many things. Jazz today is so varied, so different. The only thing that unites it is improvisation. Nothing else can be said of the connection between bebop and some of the newer forms of jazz that are being played. How do we change that? I don't know. I've tried by letting people see the music played. We're a visual civilization. I put the music up here and let people know something about the musicians who play it, and see them play. But I am having difficulty drawing an audience here. I'm a one-man band. No support from any entity, any sizable entity. I don't work with Jazz at Lincoln Center or any record labels or festivals, large festivals. I do have a couple of festivals I work with. I work in jazz education. But reaching more people has eluded me. It's been evasive. Certainly it's not for lack of trying.